Hello, vinyl community. I'm here for a vinyl update. This is my second try for this video. I was almost done and I had a weather thing come up on my uh, tablet and it froze up and quit recording. So I'm here to do it one more time. So let's start from the beginning. I hate it when that happens, don't you? Anyway, first record I got to show here. Well, let me start off here with the first CD that I picked up at a Goodwill recently. I was looking through the CDs, and it's caught my eye, and I'm thinking that's probably not real. It's probably someone wrote on it. It's Jimmy Fallon, but it is real. The Bathroom Wall. Um, it's a comedy record, from what I can tell. I mean, I did listen to it, and it's really hilarious. I didn't realize he made CDs, comedies, CDs, or others. I mean, he sings a lot on here. He does a lot of impressions. Um, it's really a good CD, and I'm not sure if how many of these he did. Uh, I want to say that he was on Saturday Night Live before he started the Tonight Show. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong on that, but I'm sure anybody out there can leave a comment if you know the answer to that, the real answer. On to the vinyl. First thing I'm going to show here is a record that I have recently acquired, The Damned Anything. This is their 1986 record. I don't know if they've had records since that. They probably have, I just haven't seen them or noticed them. This was the last one I remember coming out. Like I said, it was in 86. The title track was a video and a single. Uh, and I don't think there was any other singles off the album. I could be wrong. I just don't remember seeing anymore, but The Damned. I have their first album on vinyl. I'd like to get, me and Kat are both looking for Phantasmagoria. And then here's a Burl Ives record that I ran across that I hadn't seen previous. Out of all the Burl Ives that shows up, this one had never showed up until now. Sings The Little White Duck and other children's favorites. He does the Donut song on here, The Goat, Mr. Rabbit, The Gray Goose, Fooba Wooba John, all your familiar favorites. And then Dave Dudley does Special Delivery, or that's the album title. He had a hit with 6 Days on the Road. There's a lot of people that covered that, but I remember the Sawyer Brown version, but I prefer the Dave Dudley version. There he is up there in the corner as the stamp. And this record here by an artist that is an acquired taste, Mrs. Miller. Will success spoil Mrs. Miller? I'm not really sure if it actually spoiled her or not. I have one other one of hers, this one down here, The Greatest Hits, which is probably just a compilation. It's probably not really all hits that she had, because I think there had been a couple. The very first song I heard from Mrs. Miller was These Boots Are Made for Walking, and it was listed as Elva Miller, which that's her first name. And it was on like one of those Golden Throats compilations. But anyway, this record doesn't show up that often. That's quite a rare thing to find this record as opposed to the Greatest Hits one for some reason. There's another record I'd like to get of hers. I have a CD compilation with a variation of that as the cover, but the album, I can't think of the title, but she's holding like a tray of pot brownies, and it's like a psychedelic looking background, or maybe her dress is psychedelic. I don't remember, but that record I'd really like to find. I could have had it at one point. I was at Jerry's Records in Pittsburgh the first time I went to Jerry's Records, and I was looking through one section of the records, and I'm turning around and I'm just overwhelmed. There's so much to look at, sort of like this room. And I seen it out of the corner of my eye back in another stack, back in a different section, the weird section or the easy listening. I don't know what it was under. And I'm thinking, oh, I know, because I knew who Mrs. Miller was at that point. So I thought, well, I'm going to go over there and look at that as soon as I finish this. And I got sidetracked looking at who knows what. And I never went back over there, so I passed up a chance to get that record at one point. So maybe, one of these days. But I do have 2 out of 3, so that's pretty good. This one here, Nature Songs, is a motivational record, or from Motivation Records. There's several of these compilations right there. Tom Glazer does a lot of these, and also Dorothy Collins. I have this, I think this is my 3rd one. This is Ballads for the Age of Science. That's what it says. The Space Songs one, I have 2 others. I want to say it's the Experiment Songs and the Space Songs, but I'm not positive. But you might know Tom Glazer from, he had a hit with On Top of Spaghetti. And the Space Songs album has the original version of the cover that They Might Be Giants did, Sun is a Mass of Incandescent Gas. So that was on the original, or that's the original. Rolf Harris record, Join Rolf Harris, Court of King Caractacus, I guess is how you say that. This is a folk guy that from, I want to say, Australia, that sort of turned into a novelty hit guy, artist, with his hit from this album, Timey Kangaroo Down Sport. I used to hear that song as a kid, and I used to love it. I think I have one other copy of this record, and the other one, I want to say, doesn't have these words here. It's very possible, but it does. But this has the original single, Timey Kangaroo Down Sport, on it. So I'm sure if you haven't heard that song, you need to, and if you have heard it, you're probably, if you're into novelty music at all, you probably like it. It's one of a kind, that's for sure. This compilation here is called Redneck Mothers. It's just basically a country artist compilation. It has Gary Stewart, Bobby Bare, Jerry Reed, Willie Nelson, Johnny Russell. I'm going to show the back. Equally cool. Rednecks, White Sox, and Blue Ribbon Beer. I know that song. Whiskey River, of course. Tobacco Road, which is sort of an odd one. Honky Tonkin. Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mother. Backsliders Wine. And then I'm Just a Redneck in a Rock and Roll Bar. So this came out in probably, right there, 77. I was going to say in the 70s. This next record is not just a great record, but it's a great day. Betty Lou Mills, musical arrangements and direction by Peter By. And this is a gospel record. It's on Teen Records, which is a division of Sondervan. And the label is just great. I'll show you the label here. Look at that. That's really cool and psychedelic, especially for a gospel record. So this was probably came out in the 60s because everyone and their brother was catering to a younger audience. And they thought if they put Shindig and A Go-Go on records and made them psychedelic, that they would sell more. That could have worked, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think that, teenagers at the time would have rushed out and got this just because of the layout of the album. I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. And to save the best for last, and I'll tell you a short story about it. This next record I'm going to show is what I would consider a grail for me. The record has been very unattainable for lots of reasons. The original album came out in 1989, so that was about the time that CDs were really taking over, and vinyl wasn't really mass-produced when it came to a lot of things, I guess, all through the 90s. So that's part of the reason, and the group, to my knowledge, has not reissued any of their albums until recently. And I remember watching some videos on the VC a while back, and people that lived in like Europe and places, they said this record was in the dollar bin. And it's like, I'm never going to be able to get it, you know, and it's because it's not in the dollar bin here and it never was. So I've looked online, and the albums go for outrageous price, and the CD not so much. I mean, I have the CD, I even have the remastered expanded one, and you know that's fine. But the vinyl was just, you know, it's like that with a lot of vinyl, unfortunately. So um, I was on something. I think it was Instagram recently, and someone had showed this, and it's like, what? You know, I see it every once in a while. I'm thinking, man, I'm never going to get that. But it's said in the, you know, the comment at the bottom or whatever, that it was a reissue. And I'm thinking, reissue? What? I guess it was reissued last year. I don't know if it's all their albums or if they're doing one at a time. I think their first album was reissued too. This is their second album. We will be going to see this band next month in concert. And this record, like I said, is a grail for me. You probably heard me talk about it before in my videos. Me and Kat both were dying to get this record. I feel bad because I was hoping they'd have two copies so I could have got her one. But she'll eventually get it. This is Warrant Cherry Pie reissue. And I don't care if it's an original. I don't care if it's a reissue. It's a record I never thought I would ever get. I had basically given up on it. I went to the mall one day. Hang on. I went to the mall one day because I'd heard that it had been reissued. And I thought, I'll just look at their vinyl. You know, I'll just look. Went over to the W's and there was one copy there. And it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it's on red vinyl, and it's, you know, it's one of those records that you just, you know, when you're looking for a record, and you're looking for a record, and you're looking for a record, you know, I can't afford to spend an enormous amount of money on stuff, and this record was extremely cheap considering that it was the one could never get a hold of. One of them I could never get a hold of, and the fact that it was at the mall of all places. So there it is, Cherry Pie. Some of the songs, if you're not familiar with Warrant, of course the title track was a big hit. Uncle Tom's Cabin, I Saw Red, Bed of Roses, Sure Feels Good to Me, Love in Stereo, Blind Faith. I love that song, Blind Faith. Song and Dance Man. I Saw Red is a great song too. I forgot to say that. You're the Only Hell Mama Ever Raised. Mr. Rainmaker, Train, and Ode to Tipper Gore, which is just a compilation of the F word in concert. So there it is, Warrant Cherry Pie. You know, little by little, I'm finally getting everything I've ever wanted. Now, that's not to say that I will, you know, new records come out all the time, whether they're reissues or just new artists and new genres that you run across, and you know, it's never ending. It'll never end. So there's my Grail. There's a few other records that I'm still looking for that falls into that category. Maybe they'll reissue them. Maybe I'll run across an original. Who knows? But that's what the vinyl community is all about. That's what record collecting is all about. And it makes me want to go out and get more. So thanks for watching. And I made it through this video without it messing up this time. So I'm going to turn it off before it does mess up. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And we'll see you in the next vinyl update.